Welcome to the St. Thomas More Lynchburg's Homily Podcast. We join Monsignor Michael McCarran as he brings his insight and application to the readings for the third Sunday of Advent.
You know, when I was fairly new, 2 years into theological graduate school, the call was going out to start sending seminarians to live in parishes with parish priests. I'd never been in a parish. Growing up, I had a family who was faithfully Catholic, but we lived too far away from the church or the parish in our little southern town to actually go there to do anything, honestly. It was really too much of trouble to drive back and forth to be an altar boy or choir practice or anything like that. So I never really was one. Along with my dad and mom and family, we were regularly participating, but the extracurricular activities, knowledge of parish, knowledge of the priests who were there, I never really knew them. And when I went into school, I kind of expected that I'd find a little bit more of that, and certainly I had more information given to me, but not too much experience. And so there was a priest down in Virginia Beach in a brand new parish, Church of the Ascension, and he was really kind of an up-and-coming implementer of the Vatican II documents on liturgy. He was building a church that kind of epitomized the things the council had asked, had new things in them that we had never had before, like commons areas and places for us to gather. The idea of a parish hall, for example, for people to have fellowship, things like that. And so they told him he needed to take a seminarian because they thought a seminarian would benefit from that kind of advancement. And he said no many, many times. So finally they told him that it wasn't a question he could answer no to anymore. He just had to take one. And they said, well, all right, pick out somebody who has some kind of sense and send them down and I'll look them over. And we'll see what happens from there. So I got a call while I was at Catholic University in Washington, and they told me I was going to Virginia Beach to help with the Triduum liturgies of Easter in this new parish. They didn't even have a church yet. It wasn't finished. It was still under construction, and they were meeting in a schoolhouse. It was that new. So I went down, and I must admit it was with a bit of trepidation because I realized I was being examined, and it would really, my future was depending on the examination. And we went through the weekend. We had lots of ups and downs. I can tell stories after story after story of the things that went on in that time. They still remain very dear to my heart. But on Sunday, having survived him and he having survived me, and the parish seeming to like me, I think the idea was being made that I would probably have to come down there for the next summer, or a couple of summers or so. But there was one last test. So as we were walking into the final Mass at Easter on Sunday, packed to the gills, as they are, in this high school cafeteria, as we were walking in, I thanked him I say, thanks for your kind hospitality this weekend. I've really appreciated being here. And he said, you're welcome, you're preaching. And then kept on going. I mean, just right like that. And so it turned out that at that Mass, God helped the people of God. I just gave my very first homily in a Catholic church on the Feast of the Resurrection. I guess he figured it was a topic anybody could talk about, so it was a good way to start. And I came home or drove back to Washington that evening, and I couldn't shake this strange feeling. It was uplifting and edifying, and it was a good feeling. When I finally went to bed, I said, I finally realized what it was. I had discovered what it was I wanted to do with the rest of my life. For the rest of my life, I really didn't want to do anything else but talk about him. That opportunity, I'd spoken before on retreats, and I'd been in various community gatherings where I've spoken, but to speak like I'm doing right now in front of the community of believers over whom I am a blessed and honored father and pastor, to do that all the time, to just do that. I realized it's where I came together. It's where I became. Today, we have an interesting Sunday. It's called Gaudete Sunday. Some of us have lived with it for a long time, some of it not so much, but all of us are in it today, and we should pay special attention to what it's called, Gaudete. It's a Latin word, as I told the children. It means rejoice, but it doesn't mean let us rejoice. You'll often hear that. Let us rejoice, because that's in the psalm. It doesn't mean that. It's an imperative. It's a command in Latin. Latin, of course, gives its command by its syntax, and it says, rejoice, darn it. You will rejoice. You got it? And it's always struck me as kind of funny that we have to be told with a command to rejoice. We'd think that'd be the first thing we'd want to do, but not quite so. Quite the contrary, in fact. The church for thousands of years has told its people, you will rejoice. You will not give in to cynicism. You will not give in to giving up. You'll give over. You will not give in to the fact that my sins seem to be more habits than actions. Rejoice. Something's coming. In fact, even at church, the vestiture changed. Vestments become a different color. Altar cloths take on a different tinge because the great white light of Christmas is filtering back through Advent and integrating itself with the purples of Advent color. That's why it's rose, not pink. Pink is red and white. Purple and white is rose. Now, the reason I offer all of that is because I think I know the reason we resist it. We need a command. Happiness, we like happiness. It doesn't take anything. Frankly, we're happy when we've had a good meal. We're happy when the kids are all home and in bed and life's well. We're happy when the wife's happy. We're happy when the husband's happy. We're happy when we've got enough money. But see, all of those things, and you can name a zillion more, could change like that. Someone could not be happy. The kid could get sick. You could lose a job, God forbid it. Happiness, well, we like happiness because it doesn't take us to do anything, but on the other hand, we don't expect it to stick around either. In fact, if you're Irish, you never expect it to stick around. The reality is that happiness is fleeting. Joy, on the other hand, rejoice, have joy. Joy lasts. Joy lasts forever. It really doesn't move. It deepens. In its own place, it gets more magnificent and deeper still over time. The difference is that the joy always has to do with a person. It always has to do with a relationship. Always has to do with a relationship. Joy happens when that person you've been dating for so many weeks and months looks at you with your ring in hand and says, I will, and then starts to laugh and cry at the same time. That's joy. Joy happens when you hold your kid for the first time, when you find your whole life changed because of this little meatloaf you're holding. You know you'd do anything in the world to protect it and to love them. Joy is always in a relationship, and because of that, it's not always easy to do. I found that my great joy was knowing my spouse and being able to talk about him all the time, wherever I was, on Sunday for sure, and certainly every place else I could, that it gives me a juice to be able to say things I know for true. When I talk about him, there is no exaggeration, there's no lie. I just know him. I have a friend who calls it BLT, Bottom line truth. That I tell things from experience. When you're with your spouse and you're talking about your care for each other, you don't have to imagine. You can just say what is true. The joy comes from knowing that I am accepted by that person. The joy comes from the understanding that who I am, with all of my bumps and bruises, is still loved forever. The joy comes from that crystallizing moment when someone says, I will love you for 80 years and more just because I love you. You. In the incarnation, Jesus shows us that joy is something that we're capable of, that we ourselves as human beings, infused by God's grace, born of the incarnation, can actually be a source of joy for others, can receive it from others. And if we want real joy, joy that spreads into our other relationships, into our life, our job, anything, all of the passing happinesses, it has to be first that relationship that is forever. I see a glimpse of the relationship I have with Jesus Christ in the spouse. I see a glimpse of how much God loves me in the parent who cares for me, even when I haven't done things right. I see a glimpse of the possibilities of a world of joy when in my own office I help to settle disputes or I refuse to be a part of them. Joy, rejoice. Don't resist it. Yes, it will take work. It will take prayer. It will take getting up in the morning and saying, Lord, help me to see you today. Help me to know you today. Yes, it will require new habits so that my words are not filled with negativity and cynicism, but with hope and possibility. Yes, it will take all of that, but it will last. There will be a sense of presence, a glow of life that doesn't go away. In its own place, this Lord who loves us so much, in our helplessness, that he would enter our very most vulnerable state. As a babe in the womb, or in a manger, or in the arms, show us that joy comes from having a relationship, not just with the strong, but with those who are in love, who are in weakness, who are in need. I came home that Sunday afternoon, and I pretty much knew from then on, somehow I just needed to keep talking about him. And here I am, 47 years later, and I still am. I told you this story, but it's worth repeating. One day at Incarnation Church, my first pastorate, I had finished my homily. And I'd do like I do now. I take a few moments in quiet before we go into the creed. So I finished my homily, and then I fell silent. And out of the community, right about over there where he is, out about there came a little boy's voice that said, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. That's all he ever talks about is Jesus. And I thought to myself, I hope that's always the case. May Jesus be praised forever.
Thank you for tuning in to the St. Thomas More Lynchburg's Homily Podcast. For the daily reading and to learn more about the community of St. Thomas More, please visit our website at www.stmva.org. If you were blessed by our podcast today, please give it a like, a kind review, and share it with a friend. God bless.